back to the 800-gallon cube build. Well, that's not it behind me, but that gives me a little inspiration to get this tank built because they're really awesome when they're done. So welcome back to part 3, 800-gallon cube build. All I can say is this video has tons of progress, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. Let's go. Okay, we're starting off part 3 by making a little bit of a change. Originally I said I wanted to put one solid piece of plywood across the back there, but the reality of it is the leftover from the floor, when cut specifically for this, allows me to use up wood and not have any waste. And so what we'll have here is we'll have a seam right here. The reason I wanted to pull that apart is so we have an upright support here, but the joint is going to be right over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to sister up another 2x4 to this to thicken it up so that the seam lands on solid wood behind it, and then we'll go ahead and screw this in, and then we'll just fiberglass that seam just like we're going to do with the seam on the bottom and with all the joints, you know, where the floor meets the walls and all that good stuff. So this is a major milestone with the build because this completes the structure of the upper tank. Obviously we have the filter to go, but the tank structure is complete, and now we're going to move on to fiberglassing. So each one of these frames is ready for, you know, as far as the wood structure, it's complete. So it'll basically just be fiberglassing, painting, and then glass. So we have glass on 3 sides, and then on the back wall here, we'll fiberglass the entire back wall. We'll fiberglass the entire bottom with multiple coats of fiberglass, and then the key is to erase all of the seams. So we will take fiberglass across this seam and up to here. Same with all the corners. So basically everywhere wood connects to other wood, we want to get rid of that seam by fiberglassing it. So up the sides, across the bottom, up the sides. So then once the fiberglassing is complete, we'll move on to epoxy painting and then glass installation. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and let all of this construction filler, wood filler dry. And what I'll do next is I'll start cutting strips of fiberglass for the different areas so that when I start working, everything's already pre-cut and I could just work on a seam and then work on a seam and then move across. So what I like to do, for example here, if we come to this back wall, when I start the fiberglass, I want to overlap. So I'll do this seam here, vertical. I'll do that vertical seam. I'll do that vertical seam, and then I'll do this horizontal seam. Then I'll go and do the large over the top fiberglass. So as this seam comes out to here, the fiberglass will be like that. So we'll have a second coating. So around all the seams, it'll all be doubled up. All the weakest points will have 2 layers of fiberglass, while just the large open areas there will just have 1. Okay, we have a very straight and rigid structure. As far as the wood work went, it went really well. Everything's looking great. We've got all the fill work done, and now it's time for arguably one of the most important parts of the build, which is fiberglassing. So fiberglassing all the seams, a couple layers on the floor of the aquarium, and then the back of the aquarium. This is what's going to give it absolute strength. The key here is know your mixing. So for example, there's a little chart on here, and that's basically how long it's going to take for the hardener to fully set up, based on ratios of 1%, 2%, 3% sort of thing. So what I've always done is I've worked with 64 ounces, which is 4 ounces of hardener, which is around a 1.5% ratio, which gives me about at least 20 minutes up to maybe about 30 minutes depending on the temperature. So let's just call it 25 minutes of working time. And what I do is I pre-cut all of my chop strand strips, and I work with 64 ounces at a time. I do what's called super saturating, which is, you know, the roller goes all the way in, it's super saturated in the resin, and then I work with it, and I use these disposable ones because once it hardens everywhere. So it's easier to pay a few bucks for these in bulk and then just throw them out after each one. Of course, you got your mixing sticks. Always wear the gloves, always wear the respirator, and always open up the space and get the fans going and everything, get a lot of fresh air moving through. So that's sort of the quick overview and the prerequisites for fiberglassing. So what I'll go ahead and do now is start cutting all the strips of fiberglass mat and get to it. Okay, I've got all the fiberglass all cut up and everything, and I'll explain that in just a second. But so in addition to having everything you need to apply the fiberglass, what you want to do before you start is go ahead and pre-cut everything. So what I've got here is the fiberglass that's hanging here. This is for these seams. Fiberglass down here is for that bottom seam, and then this here is for that middle seam. These wider pieces over here are for that seam on the bottom, and then all these thinner ones are for the seams all the way around the bottom and the verticals over here. And then I like to keep a little backup just in case I miss something. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to apply all this fiberglass, and then we'll take a look. And again, so this is to do all the seams. I like to do the seams first and then overlap the larger pieces over top of that. So the seam fiberglass will be on the bottom, and then a big sheet will overlap it. So it's just another layer of strength. So this is the first application done. We've got that main seam on the backboard, the bottom seam, and then the seam across the floor. Then we went around the bottom perimeter seam of the entire tank, as well as the back two verticals. So once this cures, what it allows us to do is finish off. So basically the reason I do it in stages is just because I run out of room, where I have wet resin everywhere. So what I'll do is in the next stage, there'll be a big sheet of fiberglass across the back, overlapping all of those verticals that we have and the bottom. So we'll do the whole entire back. And then we'll come to the front here, and we will do these two vertical seams here and here. And then after that's done, we will do the bottom layer. And the bottom layer is actually going to get two full sheets of fiberglass. So one over top of what we already have going around the perimeter. And then once that one's cured, a second one over top of that. So we have some pre-cut fiberglass here in big long sheets. As you can see, this one here is for the bottom. It's going to give us nice big wall-to-wall coverage all the way from the back to the front. And this one up here is for that back wall. So I'm going to start with that back wall, bring that down and over, and then we'll roll this out and we'll do the nice flat surface from down here on the ground. So we'll start off from inside the tank and then work our way down. So the application went really well. We have very large sheets of fiberglass across the entire back of the tank, overlapping all the seams on the sides and the bottom. And then of course a big sheet of fiberglass across the bottom, doing the same thing, overlapping the fiberglass that we did on all the seams and including the back wall. But it doesn't mean that it went perfect. There's a few small imperfections, and we'll take the Dremel and we'll just cut out those little imperfections. Basically slight little bubble in one place, and then here on the edge, an area where the edge of the fiberglass just didn't get saturated enough. So we'll just chop that off before we put on the final layer of fiberglass, which we'll do right after we cut out those imperfections and then vacuum it up and get it ready for the final fiberglass sheet. So I'm not sure how well this will show up on camera, but this is the area we have a little bit of a raised spot right there. Hopefully you can sort of see it flexing with me pushing on it. So that'll be really easy to cut that out with the Dremel. We have another one over here. Same deal. This one is stiffer, but it's slight raised area, so we'll cut that out. And then on the back, this isn't actually a flaw or anything, but there's just some excess fiberglass material up at the top, and we'll go ahead and trim that off with a Dremel because we won't want that. That'll be in the way when we do the epoxy coating, so we'll just get it all cleaned up. But again, not really a defect, just sort of some slop to clean up, from the process. All right, the areas that had the flaws have been remediated. You can see that one there, that one there. The top is trimmed off, and I found one more mistake over in the corner, so you can see a piece of new fiberglass cut. These will be just for these seams right here to fix these areas. And then I have the big one over here for the whole bottom, for the last layer of the bottom, and I just noticed something. I totally forgot to fiberglass these two upper seams here. and these posts here. So, good thing to do a little inspection. Same thing over here. I need to fiberglass that seam and then across the top over there. So I'm going to take some measurements and cut some more fiberglass because I got a little bit more work to do than I thought, as well as take the vacuum and vacuum up all the dust from cutting out the imperfections. Well, this is probably one of my favorite points at all the builds. The fiberglassing work is done. We've got our second full coat of fiberglass on the bottom, plus we have essentially 3 on all the lower seams. We fixed the areas that needed to be fixed, including up here on the back. And actually I forgot the front there, that top front piece needed to be done too. We did the sides, and then of course we did these other sides. So you're probably wondering, why in the heck is there a bunch of fiberglass sticking way up above the line there? And the same is over here as well. Well, that is, that's just me somehow measuring something and then totally misremembering the size when I went in the back room to cut the fiberglass. So, what are you gonna do? At any rate though, we will come back with the Dremel and clear all that off, and any little bits on the bottom here, and over on the side, same situation. So we're gonna let it fully cure. It's not quite ready yet. But at any rate, we'll clean all that up, no problem. And then after that, we're going to drill the holes in the back for the returns and for the drains. So I'll do the measurement there. Again, we want the water line to be, above this. We don't want to drop below the window. So we want the water line somewhere up here. So we'll transfer that measurement over and get those drilled. So the next step is just letting this fully cure. Trimming up all the mess I made by mismeasuring with the Dremel, drill the holes for the returns and the drains, and we will start with Pond Shield, painting the epoxy coat on the inside, which I'm excited about too because they have a new color. It's first time using it, and I think it'll be perfect for a marina tank like this one. So, and then after the Pond Shield, it's time to go ahead and get the full final measurements for the glass and get that glass ordered as well. So it's time to play the let's look through all the plumbing parts and see if I have everything I need. I need two 2-inch bulkheads, slip. I need 2 1-inch bulkheads. I found one already, and it's threaded on both sides, which means I'll have to use an adapter on both sides. So I'm looking for one that's threaded on the inside and slip on the outside. So we'll see if I can find it. I do have some adapters there, so we'll get that worked out. Some clamps and some J-hooks and everything. Go ahead and take that out for the 2-inch drains. But at any rate, let me go through here and see what all I have and see if I can piece together a complete plumbing system. And then we need the bulkhead so that we can take it over to the tank and measure and start drilling. So while I did find lots of parts, I didn't find everything I need, but I do have a lot of clamps and fasteners and everything like that, so that's good. I have all the bulkheads I need. I have a little bit of the plumbing and everything. So for right now though, what I do need is just the bulkheads, the 1-inch and the 2-inch, and I do have those. I'm going to take those over the tank now, transfer the measurements over, and go ahead and get those holes drilled out so we can start epoxy painting. All right.
So I built quite a few tanks and drilled a lot of holes, and my hole saws are a little rough for wear, so went ahead and got some upgrades, and we will go ahead and bore those out. Those need to be a little bit bigger, and then we got the pilot holes in for the drains. We'll get those drilled right now.
So we're making serious progress in this video. We've got the holes drilled, we've got it vacuumed out, and we're getting ready to do both painting the inside and the outside of the tank. The outside just to protect the wood from incidental water contact, and the inside, of course, our waterproofing 2-part solids epoxy. So let me take you inside and show you what we got done. All right, see in the back of the aquarium, we have in the middle the 2 smaller holes. Those are 1 1/4 inch. Those are our returns, and then we have our 2 2-inch drains there. With the drains, that'll be where the bulkheads are. But of course, like all the tanks, the inside will be adjustable so we can configure the water line. Because you see, it's lower than the water line, but I have to have space to be able to crank down the bulkhead. So the drain will basically just stick up a little bit, and then we'll be able to set our water line wherever we want. We've got it all vacuumed out. We'll do one more quick pass with the vac, and then you can see here we're getting ready to do the pond shield. This is the 2-part epoxy solution. Basically, they have the whole formula on how to do it on this sheet here. It comes with directions on their website, but essentially it's measured out. So you just pour all of this into here, all of this into here. And then I use a little bit of denatured alcohol just to thin the solution out a little bit. It makes it a little easier to apply because it'll be very thick by default. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more quick vac in case I missed anything, and then go ahead and get the first coat of pond shield. Now this is a new color I've never used before. It's a very deep blue. Should look awesome for a marine aquarium, but we'll see in a minute because for you guys it'll be just a few seconds. Well, I'll tell you what, the 1.5 quart kit was perfect. Got to keep my camera out of there. Got a little bit of drippage going on from the top. Yeah, that was perfect. I was able to get basically 2 coats with the 1.5 quart kit on this because we got a lot of glass. So there's not like, a lot of times there's a big long back wall, but here we've got just the 1 wall, and then the 3 walls are glass. So you're really just painting up the framing and then the bottom. So yeah, that's very, very, very effective. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that cure. And so what you can do is if you wait about 6 hours, you can go ahead and put the next coat right on top of this without sanding. You gotta feel and make sure it's set up tacky enough or cured enough that you can get on there. Because I actually probably want to get back inside, I'll probably just go ahead and let it cure overnight and then come back in tomorrow and then just take 200 grit sandpaper and do a light sanding on it and then go ahead and put the next coat. In the meantime, I'll start working on painting the outside as well. But we're getting really close. It is basically, the epoxy will be done here real soon. I'll go ahead and order the glass, so we're waiting on the glass. We'll start designing and building the massive filtration system that's gonna go under there, and go ahead and get the rest of the plumbing parts we need. Smell that 2-part epoxy curing in the background? That's definitely the sign of a tank that is almost ready for fish. Cannot wait to get the second coat of epoxy on here and get the glass installed. It's a little bit of plumbing and a filter build, which actually I'm really looking forward to the filter build. That's almost like a video series in itself. This is gonna be 100% custom. It's gonna be giant. It's gonna have all the chambers and everything. And it's gonna be made out of wood, fiberglass, and epoxy. So it's gonna be pretty cool. But anyway, we are super close. I'm already scouting out the fish that I want for this, and of course, getting the rock ready to move over. We got the salt and everything, so we're getting real close. We made a lot of progress in this video, and who knows, the next video, we might have water in this bad boy. So you'll definitely want to check back, because not only do we have this build, but we got a ton of other things going on. The lagoon, the 1200 build, I haven't forgotten that, which I need to get that done quick, that fiberglass work, because it's getting cold. I need to be able to open the windows for that. So that's a priority, to get the 1200 Lake Tanganyika tank finished, all the fiberglass finished before it gets too cold to open up the windows. But at any rate, thanks for watching. Check back soon. Like I said, plenty of cool things going on in the Aquarium Main Fish Basement. Thanks for watching. See you soon.